Awesome, thank you so much. It's our pleasure today to present ACXYN to you. So ACXYN, it's not working? It's the economic engine that helps game developers generate revenue that's not available in Web 2 for them. So the main problem is video game developers, they don't know how to utilize Web 3 yet, with 60% of games failing within the first 30 days. And that's down to video game developers not having the expertise and the resources necessary to implement and maximize this technology effectively. So we look at increasing the success rate of video game developers entering the space. And by doing so, we're able to tap into a $200 billion total addressable market. And we're at the right place at the right time, with the CAGR of blockchain gaming expected to reach 70% by 2030. And we believe we found a solution on how to do this. And the first part of that is allowing game developers to seamlessly port their games into Web3. They focus on the game, building a great game, while we focus on the revenue generation aspect of things. So we start by de-risking their access to Web3 with a dedicated Unity SDK for all of their assets. Secondly, we have a data analytics suite, which allows them to optimize and enhance their game's potential and economy, generating more revenue. And most importantly, and this is what we do differently to everyone else, we actively help maximize the value of said game assets. That means allowing game developers to tokenize game assets, including their intellectual property, making them cross-compatible and increasing their usability across our platform. And we back this all up in the true Web3 fashion with a dedicated token economy that aligns all the stakeholder interests, that drives the utility, usability, and investability of assets.
So this is a demo of our dashboard. Basically, game developers can create NFTs, create tokens, just manage that through all within this dashboard. And it will show in-game metrics, and also game developers will be able to understand their players' behavior. Now, this is where our valuation framework comes to play, where game developers will be able to tokenize their IP, stake it, do lending and borrowing, and they'll be able to see the index pricing of these assets based on their game's performance, right? So think of this valuation framework as a micro GDP for games. So we create this valuation framework so we can rank game economies and create the interoperability for players exchanging assets between games.
This is actually a video of the integration with one of our video game companies called Quirk. And the main point that this integration is meant to show is how seamless the entire user experience is. If you want to see it, hit us up afterwards.
Yes. So the main holy grail here is that we are creating a frictionless experience when minting an NFT in-game. So we think that there shouldn't be a difference for a player in playing a Web 2 or Web 3 game, right? So in terms of our business model, we are hybrid, a mixture of Web 2 and Web 3 revenue elements. So for the Web 2 model, it will be money subscription, and also we offer game credits to purchase Web 3 assets for the gamers. And in terms of Web 3-centric revenue, it will be marketplace transaction fees and also NFT royalties. These are our early stage primary revenues. And as for the later stage, we have other features to offer to our game developers as well. And the main revenue comes from the transaction fees within these features. Now, we are supported by 60 game studios across Southeast Asia and Taiwan as well, such as Agate, Virtuous, and Streamline, just to name you a few. And our go-to-market strategy will be converting 20 from these 60 to launch together with us in June. Right, so we are also a preferred partner of Unity, and we just received a grant from Tezos as well. And our latest partnership will be with C Gamer, which is one of the biggest game credit marketplace out there. So in terms of our competitive advantage, our key differentiator with our competitors is that we have these data analytic tools that determines the valuation framework, which allow us to focus on the revenue generation side of things for games. So game developers can focus on what they do best, which is building great games, right? So I'm actually not pressing the...
Okay, we plan to go to market in June this year with 20 game developers from the 60 who have signed up so far, and we're currently in beta testing of our platform.
Yeah, so we're going to do beta testing next month with 10 games, and then we'll go to market in June with 20 games. So in terms of the team, all right, we have 6 dedicated co-founders. Myself, Leon, and Jaden. We've been in the space since 2016. All right, so we've been in the space since 2016, and we have many experience in. We built a mining company together. And Dave, our CTO, he's an expert in software and automation, formerly from a Fortune 500 company. And John over here is an expert in economic design and has a lot of experience in tokenizing real-world assets.
So how do you guys derive the percentage cut, like 12%, 3%, 2%?
Sorry, which percentage cut would that be?
Game credits?
So this is where we're working with Cgamer and actively deploying a similar game credit system to what gamers are very much used to. And for that aspect of being able to top up your in-game funds, we take a 12% cut. That's pretty competitive at the moment.
Okay. So how do you expect to hit what is your revenue that you're looking at?
The revenue we're looking at? Yeah, we've got prognoses, but essentially we're helping game developers succeed long term. So we're looking at eventually like scaling them up from 100 to around 2,000 per month. And I think we're looking at like our first million within the first year of launching.
How do you differentiate yourself from other service providers out there? Because I'm sure there's a lot of platform that helps to create NFT, no-code NFT, no-code tokenization, no-code staking platform. So how do you have to differentiate? That's question one. Question two, I guess, if most of your target audience are game developers, I'm sure right now most of the game developers, they are able to create their own smart contracts to build NFT platform themselves. So how do you address these issues?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So basically, what we focus on is really the on-chain revenue generation aspect. So the way we've built our token model is around having an on-chain liquidity fund, which allows developers to kind of tap into it. So where we really differentiate ourselves is not just by having that kind of on-chain liquidity that supports token economies, but we also open up new markets for them. So instead of just being a traditional platform that says, here, come into us, we're actively looking at expanding the way that these assets can be used across the industry.
Yeah, so in terms of your second question, so basically we target mainly indie game developers during the start, and I think we've spoken to more than 100 game developers. All of them, they are actually very, they would like to come into Web3, but they don't know how, right? So that is why we choose to target the indie game developers, because there are too little ways to, I would say they're not too little, but there are very limited ways to actually generate revenue if you look at the traditional gaming space. So they want to come into Web3 because it has new revenue opportunities, but they either don't have the resources or they don't know how. So, and this is where we fit in and help them.
So are you going to have a common game token?
So, okay, without getting too technical, the kind of way we're looking at it right now is that all game assets across the entire ecosystem, we can treat them fungibly. And we allow these assets to be, so even if they're NFTs or even if they're just in-game kind of credits, we can treat them fungibly. And what we are building is an index of assets that allows any any gamer to swap these assets into an index. And by doing that, we kind of de-risk the investment for gamers. And we also open up the possibility for gamers to kind of start playing other games very, very easily. Yeah.
So, what exactly you guys are building? The way how I see it, I think you guys are going to build something very phenomenal if this really takes off successfully, to build a full ecosystem of gaming. However, there's one big risk which will be the market risk that involves in the gaming scene. And assuming you're taking the assumption that that of course that's a matter of time that the focus will be very much more into Web3. And of course, while we are waiting for how the Web3 games to evolve, when even the Web3 gamers and the founders are scrambling to look for funding, this will not be the main priority. How are we going to solve that? One of the biggest risks that we could anticipate. And secondly, what is your ask anyway? Because since you're launching soon, so there's no ask.
There is an ask.
All right, okay. There is an ask.
Constraint, so we couldn't.
All right, okay. There's an ask. My bad. All right, okay.
But thanks for asking.
Sorry, could you please repeat the first question you had?
I think the exposures to market risk. How are you going to mitigate that market risk?
Okay, so we're looking at game economies, and we have something that's called the gross game value, which Jason briefly touched upon, where we analyze the inherent risks and the value of these Web3 game economies, and we make that transparent for investors and for game developers. So game developers know where they need to optimize the game economies, and investors can go into the space and invest into these game economies with less risk.
And in terms of the investment part as well, of course, what we are doing also, we are trying to help these indie game developers, and we're actually setting up a launchpad where we actually provide them like with partners like Tezos tokens and also some bootstrapping fund to allow them to easily.
Time's up.